Hey, folks, and welcome to the Good Enough Gaming Podcast, where a bunch of millennial geeks talk about all things gaming and nerdy. I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by Daryl, Jordan, and Trevor. Here's a little taste of what's in store for you today.
Yeah, he's tapped into limitless power by just adopting orphans.
First, I'd like to apologize for my voice last week. Something must have possessed me. Secondly, this week's episode is entitled Potato Potato, Motorfest and Motorsport. Start your engines, strap in, get your hand on the wheel, and the other hand on the shifter. I'm glad I read all of this before I put the pedal to the metal and get ready for the ride you'll never forget. This week, we're taking a detour with some games that you have been... This week, we're taking a detour with some games that have you driving in some of the sexiest and fastest vehicles on Earth. That's right back to Blacktop and all things that go vroom vroom.
Yeah.
Originally, we wanted to call this Race Wars, but obviously referencing Fast and Furious.
It's a Fast and Furious reference, okay? It's a Fast and Furious reference.
Please don't cancel us.
But we were worried that some people might take it out of context. So, it's time to start your engines and talk about two of the newest racing games in the crew Motorfest and Forza Motorsport. Have these titles changed the landscape of racing, or are you betting your pink slip on someone else holds the title?
Monica!
We racing for pinks, bruh. Obviously, folks, this episode is dedicated to family.
Always.
The greatest superpower there is.
So, guys,
So what you're saying is Batman, therefore, is the worst superhero.
No, it's just the best. He makes his own family. That's why he has all those orphan kids.
So what you're saying
Just
is
enhancing his
Batman
powers.
collects orphans.
Yeah, he's tapped into limitless power by just adopting orphans.
Obviously,
All right,
we're off
taking
to a hot start here.
Great start.
Guys, I am driving at night without a headlight here. Racing games aren't my shit.
You're
Could
such
you
a
please? I know. Somehow I still have a need for speed. It's just in a different way. So you're gonna have to tell me, like, Motorfest, Motorsport, Cruise. What the hell? Like, can we find some slightly different names here?
Sometimes Kyle does get Excite Bike, but
Classic.
So, Daryl, Jordan, I assume you guys are taking the wheel here.
Very good.
Turning the
what am
ignition.
I?
We're coming in the cluch.
Trevor's chopped
Fuck you,
liver
Kyle.
this week.
Trevor's the remix to Ignition. I wasn't sure if you played these yet or not, T.
A little bit. I played the crew, and I've seen quite a bit of Motorsport, and then I'm like the referential point for Gran Turismo, which obviously has to get
Yeah, we'll get
thrown
into
in the
that.
mix
That's
here.
major connotations to the comparison to Motorsport, but we'll get there.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get into
We'll get there. I'm just gonna throw shit at you guys once in a while, and
You're just a passenger today, buddy. You're in the passenger
just a
seat.
passenger.
As a passenger princess.
Riders on the
Don't touch the
storm.
radio, you dickhead.
Yeah. You sit there and you enjoy yourself.
I don't know about the crew, but I do have to say, for Forza, from what I've seen, and definitely Gran Turismo, lacking in the music department.
Haha. Okay, you got ahead of me on that one, like big time.
How bad is it?
Well,
It's
like
non-existent.
everything's like 1950s, like cruising, like not even like music. It's just like tones.
Like instrumental type
Like-
stuff?
Yeah, just like
Yeah, it's like being put on hold for an entire
Oh.
game.
Gran Turismo. Yeah, Gran Turismo is nothing but elevator music. There's like one like kind of bop, and you're like, oh, this is a good one, and everything else you're just like, I'm in the world's longest elevator. Like
Jesus,
kind of modern at all. Like,
wow.
I'd rather have the. But it's just like radio silence. Like it's awful.
Just gotta listen to that engine, Daryl. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, to preface, like it is kind of the point of. I have played Forza Motorsport, so I'm coming from that angle for this episode. Jordan has played a lot of the Crew Motorfest. We all kind of dabbled in the beta, but Jordan has actually played the launched version of the game.
And then I played the shit out of Gran Turismo 7.
Yes, you did.
Ages ago, whenever that came out.
Yes, you did. I'm also coming from the angle. I'm the only one that finished Need for Speed Unbound. So,
well, I finished it. I just didn't do the platinum.
Yes,
like a crazy person.
Because you're a psychopath, Daryl.
Yeah, I finished it, Daryl. I had to listen to that shitty monologue. I finished that game.
Yeah, we all had
you
to
guys
listen.
got through the story.
Yeah, we all had to listen to how hard ASAP Rocky's life is.
Yeah,
as one of the people.
I'm so sorry for you.
Oh,
for God's sakes, focus.
Sorry.
Anyhow,
okay. So Daryl, you let's start with Forza.
Okay. It's the newest version. So this is kind of what I would consider Xbox's response to Gran Turismo. So Forza trying to have a comparative racing sim, like as close to a racing sim game as you can kind of get, that's still functional and has some arcadey aspects to it, but as close to like that demographic as possible. It's really focused on the cars, the racing tracks, and like setting times and doing practice laps and all of these things. It's very much on that Gran Turismo-esque level. What is interesting is you can't go to a race without doing practice laps, which like don't act.
Oh,
I think
which don't act as like a qualifier.
Oh, that's stupid.
Really?
But it is like you need to do 3 laps of the track and then you can go do the race, which are only 3 or 4 laps for the first few cups anyways. Like that's kind of where it's at. So you're really like, you're doing 2 races of the same track almost. The one you're just competing against yourself, trying to get as fast as of a lap time as possible, which like there's a challenge time set to you by the game. You have to beat that. But then after that, you're just like competing against the cars in an actual race, trying to podium.
So if it's not a qualifier, where do you start in those races?
So it's interesting. This is where it kind of gets more arcadey. You get to choose where you start in the lineup, and the further back you go, the more earnings you can win in the race.
Oh,
you started
cool.
Yeah, which I thought was
their difficulty modifier. Basically.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. Like it does have different difficulty ratings, but if you start in 24th, like your payout at the end is higher than if you start in the top 5.
Because I was like, that's my comparison. Because pretty much every race in Gran Turismo, you start in dead last. Yeah, and half the races you're like just at the same like power level, like they call it like their power points or whatever. You're at pretty much the exact same thing, and you're all driving very similar cars. So you're like, well, now I'm 20 seconds back, and you expect me to make this up in 3 laps, like every time. So there's a couple situations you get in where like I have to find like the most like cheap car, like cheap kind of ruin the game car just to like get through this race. But that's kind of cool. That's kind of a cool system.
I like that. I thought it's like a risk to reward thing. Like, and depending on what kind of car you've in and how you've tuned it, like you can really make it work. But like if you're like to Trevor's point, like if you're stuck in one of those ones, like I just can't cover the ground. Like I can't get past this, like the top 3 cars. Just start in 4th.
Just move up a couple spots.
Just move up.
Yeah. Now, are the races car specific? Like you have to use as very specific vehicle for everyone?
Not even like just like that one car, but it's like Gran Turismo. There is sectioned off into themes.
Oh,
like,
okay. Gotcha.
So there's like the Coupe Cup where you have to drive a coupe car that has to, just like Gran Turismo, like it has to be under a certain power rating. Like, so it, like when you do the tuning, like
gotta keep it small PP.
I think it's CP in this game. I'm trying to remember now. I think it's CP, but
Car power.
It's like, car points or car power, whatever it is. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It's like their power ranking. And so it has to be under, like, it can't go past 530 or like whatever. Like you can't pass that threshold in order to enter that race. So you're collecting cars just like anything else. Where it's that kind of differs from like a game like the Grid, where you're just given kind of all the cars and there's no like real tuning it. You're just collecting these pieces and racing with what you got.
Is it a little like, you have to earn them though, right? This isn't like the last like Forza Horizon, or what was the other one, like Forza Motorfest,
Forza 4 and Forza Horizon 5.
You just spin a wheel and like after your first race, you're like, cool, I got $1 million Ferrari. You're like,
you actually have to spend the money, and like some of the cups will have like a reward. Like car. You can win cars by winning the cup, which like kind of unlocks like you being able to participate in another race type instead of buying that vehicle.
Progresses you forward, yeah.
Sounds very Gran Turismo-y.
It is by and large just Gran Turismo for Xbox. Like that's really what I look at it as. I didn't get far enough to get to a point where you're racing a lot more laps. Like Gran Turismo, you can do the 24-hour Le Mans. You can kind of switch it into that 8-hour mode.
They
where you can do the 20.
It's sped up, but it is
But you can, instead of like racing for 24 hours, like you can set it to like 6 or something like that. I can't remember.
That's still
want to do like the legit
time.
One.
Yeah, you can save crazy race. Yeah. Like there's a couple though, but they're fucking long.
Yeah, and like I remember setting those like for the old Gran Turismo games and just letting my PlayStation run all night.
Yeah, pause it. And
letting the AI driver.
I was just
drive the track. But yeah, anyways, like, so I haven't gotten far enough to get to that point. If there is like really heavy, long, like track races or like a lot of laps on some of these, but the focus is the car, the track, and the feel of the car interacting with the other vehicles and stuff. There is no music when you race. None.
Yeah, so you're just listening to the car.
You're just listening to the car.
Now, on that note, with there being no music, is the sound design for each car at least good? Like, is it very distinct? And
the nice thing is, in comparison to like Gran Turismo and some of the other like Assetto, like those ones, Assetto
Corsa or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they're like as soon as you tune the car, it changes how it sounds.
Really?
So, like, as soon as you start modifying the parts, like it changes the exhaust. Like you change the exhaust, it's gonna sound different. You like the power that your motor's putting out, like revving it up before the race sounds different after you've modified the car. So like it does change, which is like a really nice quality of life kind of facet and a nice detail to the game.
Adds to the accuracy for sure.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm not going to pay Kenny G for some sweet jams during it. The engine sound.
I guess. And this uses real life tracks too, doesn't it?
It does.
It's okay.
So again,
a lot of those they just hand out licensing, right? They want any and all advertisement that they can get. Do they have any weird? Like I know Gran Turismo had a thing like this year. The big thing was that like Porsche has given up a lot of licensing or given out licensing, but like Toyota kind of took theirs away. I think from what I can remember. Are there any
weird?
Are there any like glaringly missing brands?
No, I honestly haven't played enough to kind of get deep into the brand.
Kia.
The Stinger.
The Stinger.
Get
but
that
like
out of here.
Like even in the initial preview and when you're driving around, like there are some really fancy cars involved. And one of the first like exotic cars I did unlock was a Porsche. So
nice.
Which was really, and it's kind of like a souped up GT2, which was really cool.
Nice. Now, did you instantly have like a midlife crisis or?
No, I've already had that a lot on my own.
All right.
Yeah. Daryl doesn't need any help in that.
I don't need more of those. I've already had enough myself.
Let's just double check. Daryl, lift up that hat. How much hair is still there? Okay, you're good. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. He's doing all right.
Yeah,
he's doing all right.
There's a lot of salt in that pepper, but it's still there.
Still existent.
But yeah, like it is. it's really honed in. I did notice, like, even from some of the other games, like Need for Speed not having a Supra is just like a bust to me. Like, that's such a loss.
Like,
I think that was part of that Toyota thing. That was that big thing with Toyota. Everyone's
it's in this game. The Supra is in this one, the old one and the new one.
When it's silly too,
like a 94.
Yeah.
Like even the crew Motorfest has the old Supra and the new Supra as well. So it's like
the BMW Z4.
Yeah.
To piss off all any Supra owners listening.
Yeah. It is that car though. Like,
but can you put
100%.
Body kits on it?
There are body modifications for the cars in the game. Yeah, like, so you can put some like fenders and spoilers and stuff on the car. It's not as extensive or kind of as wild as like a Need for Speed kind of situation. Yeah. Not that like any of those games should be. Right. But there are some customizable components. But it, like, again, it's very much a sim in the sense that as soon as you put a spoiler on, it changes the stats of what your car does.
Oh,
so,
okay. So it actually has
can you impact. With Gran Turismo, can you go into like I remember this in even, I guess, like Forza 4 and stuff, like the non-racing sim ones, is that you could go in and make all these like ridiculous changes where it's like, I couldn't give a shit. So those are all there.
It is still there. And it is like very intense, like changing just like the most minute like pieces and like tweaking. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine having to program all of that.
Oh, I think that's insane. Like, I'm super impressed, like, to program that and to have the appreciation of like what cars actually do. And when you do those modifications to a car, like whoever they consulted with or whoever they have doing that is definitely a car nut. And like, because
someone must have like built that system as like like some sort of physics program, and like just kind of like that's the backbone to all of these games. Yeah. Because I feel like there's no way. The same thing. They're like, you change the wheel camber a little bit, and then you're like, oh, this changes all. It's like, holy shit! Like, where is this math
it's really intense
coming from? Yeah,
it's on the same level of tweaking, like as Gran Turismo, like easily. Yeah.
Well, it definitely ties it all in. Like, there's a pretty massive community out there of like sim racing leagues. Like probably the most well-known, or one of the most well-known games out there is called iRacing, which is like it doubles down on the simulation side of it and like all those minute details that you're tweaking. Like, that shit is nuts for that. And I get, like, it's kind of the nice thing with Forza and Gran Turismo is they've kind of tried to streamline those a little bit for like your general gamer. But it is still like, to Trevor's point, so I look at that shit and half the time I'm like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't even know what to change. That to me, it's like the equivalent if you're not a racing person and you're tuning in this week, this is like the equivalent of like reading all like the books and the backstory shit in Elden Ring. Like, if you really want to know, like if you really want to know, do it. If you don't, you'll be like, just ignore. Just get on with your life.
Fine.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. Now,
what I do like about this one is when you unlock the parts, because you have to level up your car in order to be able to upgrade it. So the more races you do in the car, the car levels up, and then you unlock components and pieces. Oh,
that's kind of cool.
Upgrades for it.
That adds a bit of like the street game bit to it. Yeah.
So like when that's happening, you can go in and look at each of the parts individually, like, you know, clicking on the like the transmission and like picking which one you want or whatever. Or you can just, at the bottom, it's like the quick setup button. You just press it and it automatically gives you like an upgrade to every component possible. And it's like, this is the best new setup for you based off of these parts and like what you have available for spending points.
Nice.
So it's like, here you go, automatically done. And I'm like, that is amazing for me. It's like, I'm not spending the time going through this intensity where it's like, no, just give me the optimal setup. I'll take that. Thank you.
What's my gear ratio? Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, that's a great quality of life feature for people that are maybe interested in these games at a distance. Yeah. And are like, ooh, I really want to enjoy this, but like just the learning curve is just way too steep a lot of the time. I'll admit that's why I've never really played Gran Turismo, I think, since probably 3 was maybe the last one I played.
PS2 era.
And it, like that stuff was just, it was way too in depth for me. It's like, I just want to race. I just want to enjoy the cars, enjoy the tracks.
Yeah. I think they've done a good job. Like that was the thing Gran Turismo 7 did as well. There was like a little bit more of a slightly guided story as to like, go do this challenge and get this car. And then it moves you to the next thing. But like, it's more technical racing. You're not fucking power drifting around corners and, having wings come out of your car and stuff. But there's like, I think I also saw this with Forza, like it looks like they're potentially adding like a drift and a drag mode based on community feedback. So just like stuff like that, right? It's like this fills that gap if you're like really into like Need for Speed or other more street racers. It's like, but I still just want to like try something new and race a car. At least they're kind of bridging the gap a little bit.
Well, Trev, you kind of touched on it there briefly, and that's a question I had. Like Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport, like, is there a campaign or like a story mode of any kind, or is it basically non-existent in this?
Gran Turismo, they kind of introduced one this year. They added they always had these, like, if you remember old Gran Turismo, there's always like places to go, like you can go to the body shop or like go to races. Now they've added like the coffee shop, and so you go and you meet with this guy and he gives you, this is so European and so dumb, he gives you menus. Right, he gives you a menu and you have to unlock the 3 cars on the menu. And so this is like the Honda Civic, right? So you're going to get like an 86 Honda Civic and then like a 2007 SI, like the greatest hits of each of these versions of the car. And then once you get all 3, like, so you have to earn the cars, you actually have to own them. You then get like a reward car or like some money. And then you get like this whole, like, they did a whole big thing. This whole Gran Turismo was all about history of cars. So they'll give you like a special history moment on Honda, or Honda Civic specifically. And by doing some of that, that also unlocks like different races and different like tournaments or whatever you want to call it, like different like cups and events. And sometimes that unlocks like the new raceways that you haven't been to yet. So that was their big thing in Gran Turismo 7 this time around, was like, because even the title screen, it's all about like, they've shown like the Model T and it's got this like, the old timey sepia tone shit, right? And they're going through like the history of automakers, and that was their big thing. But it definitely pulls you through the game a little bit, and they kind of get you through a good chunk of it. And then when you start getting into like the holy shit cars, it kind of just like, that was the part that I didn't like, is like it just kind of fell off. And there wasn't any more story. Like you could do races. There's some, I would say the online for Gran Turismo maybe isn't as strong as Forza's is. It doesn't have the same fan following or community that like constantly plays online, and just the modes are different. But that's where it kind of fell off for me. Like, okay, now I have to grind this one race to go buy a $15 million car. Like I'm good. Like I've got my like, thanks. I've got my 50 plus hours in. I'm think I'm good here.
Right. Yeah. What's Forza looking like right now, Daryl? Like, because I know Microsoft has done this with some of their other games in the past, but like, does it feel super live servicey? Because I feel like that's where these games are going, and that scares me a little bit.
Pay $2 to get the transmission upgrade. Fuck.
No, well, I don't know about like the individual parts stuff. I could definitely see them like doing like I think there would be like car unlocks, like pay to get the car, just like like Horizon 5 had, like buy the pack to get the cars.
Even just like seasonal updates where it's like, we're in the new year, so we're going to focus on this particular track. Because so
this game, like, from what I was reading in like the mailbox thing, like there are challenges and weekly. So they're like, I think if you pay for it, you get like a different car per week kind of thing. Or if like you meet the challenges or like buy the pack or whatever, you get a different vehicle kind of given to you every sort of week. That was my understanding from what I was reading in like the inbox messaging thing within the game. I was like, I'm not going to buy the extra. I'm not going to play it enough to make that worth my while.
No.
But it looks like there's like some specialty sort of like kind of gem vehicles that are coming in that way that would, maybe open up some other races and some other opportunities for you. like flex on people online.
Definitely geared towards those players that are going to play this like NBA 2K. Like this is
they're going to play this nonstop.
This is their war zone.
We're waiting for the waifu and Snoop Dogg skins for your Ferrari.
Because I think
Snoop Dogg on my Ferrari.
I think Gran Turismo does something similar. I think they do like daily races, so they have some like challenges and stuff there. But same thing. It's very particular to people that want to do that.
Right. Like that's the biggest issue I had with the Forza Horizon series is as those games got later and later past launch, they added so many seasonal updates and so many new like some paid and some free content things that it just floods the map with icons. And some of the icons are for races that are attached to DLC that you have to pay for.
Yeah, you can't do them.
And other ones are free.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, guys, I just want to know what races I haven't completed from the base game
that I can
do. And like, even in that game, to try and filter everything out was almost impossible. And that was always one of my biggest issues with that.
Because I had, before Horizon came out, I went onto Steam because Forza 4 was on sale. I was like, I haven't really played a Forza game and I don't know if ever. I was like, fuck it. I was like, I was digging a racing game. It was on sale. It was like the complete edition, but it didn't have all the DLC. And holy fuck, I've never been thrown into a more like, this is like Horizon Zero Dawn, like to the extreme of like bullshit on your map. Some you can do, some you can't. You know, they're like, come here. I was like, oh, cool. I want to go do this Lego race. And they're like, fuck you. That's still $20. Right. And you're like, like for arguably probably one of the best versions of that game, which is hilarious. Like the Lego the Hot Wheels. Sorry.
That's from Forza 5. So
yeah. It's just like, there's just so many different versions. It's just like, holy, like, coming into that game late after it's been out it was probably out for over a year at that point, was very overwhelming.
Totally.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
It was like, that was the reason I bought my Xbox, was to play Forza Horizon 5, because I was like, and I was glad I got it. It's a great game. Like I really enjoyed it.
Really good.
So I was very interested in Forza Motorsport. Be like, okay, well, I really had a good time playing Forza Horizon 5, like, and 4. I played 4 as well, and I was like, okay, let's give this a go. But it's very Gran Turismo-esque. So,
yeah.
I guess it helps. Like there's no big map that you have to traverse.
No, like just menus.
Yeah.
It's just it's just racing, man. Like it's just racing on the track. What's hard for me is like, because there's no music and I'm not like I am a car guy. Like I definitely love cars and certain things. But like it is hard to go for a long haul session.
Yeah.
And stay hyped for that without like some kind of hype music or just like something to kind of
anything.
It's like sitting on the couch on a Sunday afternoon and turning on like BBC Planet Earth with David Attenborough talking to you. Right? You're just like, oh, okay, nap time. Like it. That's where I found, like, same in Gran Turismo. Like there's times I'm just like, I'm not excited enough for this to keep me awake right now.
Yeah, we're so used to, like, we grew up with arcade racers, right? Yeah, we're so used to some of the best arcade racers of all time in our generation, and all of those had fucking banging soundtracks.
Yes,
right. So yeah, like I could totally see how hard it would be.
Fuck, so good. I want to remake that game so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, they need to.
Yeah.
I just give me give me a new Midnight Club.
Oh
yeah, right.
Yeah. Like even Dirt 5, like Daryl, I know you played Dirt 5.
We had a great time playing that.
Like that game was a blast, and that had a phenomenal soundtrack. Like a lot of the songs I had never heard of, and like they're on my Spotify playlist still because I still listen to those. Like
Yep.
You know, so yeah, to play a racing game without good music, that would be very jarring for me.
Because I think PlayStation has it. Does Xbox have like the link to Apple Music or Spotify where you can like just play music while you're playing a game?
They've got a Spotify app on there. I know that for
that
sure.
might be the solution here. Just like fucking override the game and just put music over top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine playing a game that's just engine sounds.
Well, it's the thrill of the race. Like, it's still intense and like it's loud enough, and like it is exciting when you're zipping by and whatever. You're hearing the weather and like the reaction with the vehicle to the track and everything else.
Yeah.
Like it is.
I can experience that in real life, but
the problem. This is my argument: is like in real life when I'm in my car and I'm doing things I'm not supposed to on the road, I'm blasting music. So.
like in Forza, do you even hear do you have like a pit crew? Do you have like a guy in your ear?
Yeah, you do.
At least talking. Okay. Yeah. So there's at least some type of like ambiance, I guess.
Yeah.
Background noise.
Yeah, you do hear your crew chief like talking to you and stuff.
I just want the.
That's a nice little detail.
I want like the arcade style, like the Need for Speed, like the passing commentary from the other cars. Like that you get it
on the walkie-talkie.
Super cheesy, like you ain't got me yet, right? Like I think the crew had a bit of that too, right? It's just like, oh fuck, so corny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
you're first for now.
I'm coming for you.
I think now might be a good time. We're gonna hit the brakes, guys. We're gonna downshift. We're gonna take a little detour over to the treasure trove.
Going to make out point.
Not to cut you off, but
we're going to make out point.
Trevor, this isn't Alabama.
Oh God.
I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Get out of here.
Obviously, it's Daryl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Always.
I mean, that's just a given.
Shucks, you guys, stop it.
Turn as red as my waifu.
Yep.
Okay, Jordan, treasure trove us.
Treasure trove.
All right. So, taking a bit of a left turn here, given the episode topic today.
Great puns. Great puns today.
But this is a game I stumbled across on Game Pass called Cocoon. And it just launched, I think, maybe 3 weeks ago, kind of beginning of October. It's a puzzle. It's kind of a puzzle platformer. It mixes a lot of think of Journey meets Doom, sci-fi, but very just really interesting environments. There's a lot of mechanical meets organic worlds kind of meshed together.
Just to clarify, you said Dune, not Doom, right?
Yes, Dune.
Okay.
Like sandworms and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's wow, what a mix that would have been. Doom and
cutting guys in half.
Oh yeah. But this game, it was made by the creator of Limbo and Inside.
Okay.
So if you guys have played those, kind of gives you a rough idea. But it features a unique mechanic that I've never seen in a game. And basically, you travel between worlds, but all the worlds are contained inside of these spherical diorama orbs. And you can when you jump out of a planet or jump out of a world into another one, you can pick up that world that you were just in.
Oh, weird.
And take it with you. And a lot of the levels and a lot of the worlds, they incorporate puzzles into using specific orbs in certain orientations, or there's certain powers that are tailored to worlds.
Oh boy.
You have to like layer on top of each other.
That's cool.
It sounds very
Inception.
Difficult.
Yeah.
But the one thing that this game does a phenomenal job of is just like slow dripping each mechanic to you throughout the 5 or 6 hours that the game goes. So it doesn't become overwhelming. The game has one button. Nice. You use your left stick to move, and you use X, and that is it. So nice. Super easy to pick up. By the time the game ended, I felt like I was like the best multitasker of all time, like juggling 5 different planets and having to jump in and out of different ones to make one puzzle work. And the aesthetic is beautiful. It's like a pastel, like watercolor kind of feel. The only thing that I wish it had more of, we've talked a lot about music this episode. It's got a lot of like ambient music and like tones and stuff, but I was fully expecting it to be like a Journey, where just like this sweeping, instrumental soundtrack, like super epic. But a lot of the levels, it's like the same couple tones, just like relayed over each other. So
that's unfortunate.
That would be my only negative. But super cool boss fights, very unique puzzles. If you're looking for anything that's like 5-6 hours, but you want something that's like just very visually appealing, and has a very cool story without any dialogue spoken, definitely one to check out. I highly recommend it.
Cocoon.
What a metamorphosis.
Not licensed from the movie, but just Cocoon.
Correct. Yeah, no movie licensing, and free on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, PC or console, check it out.
Butterfly your ass over there and pick up Cocoon.
Now welcome our guest, Chrysalis.
Oh.
He's a caterpillar of society.
Oh,
he can be a bit meta pod.
Oh,
wow, that's going cross genre here.
Yeah. I almost caterpilled my pants.
All right, Kyle, we're in your territory now.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, the episode's getting off the rails here, Kyle. Get us back on track, buddy.
Let's drill it home.
Like, fuck. So
going Butterfree range.
Fuck me. Can I just start the second half? God damn it. So we had a large portion of the first talking about Forza.
Yep.
Jordan, can you take us through the crew? It's Motor
Fest. The crew Motorfest. Or
Motorfest.
Or the crew 3.
Michigan Mega Bowl.
Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl.
Motorfest.
Yeah. It's the crew 3, if you want to keep it simple.
The crew 3 copying Forza's homework.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get it out of the way right now. This game is it's a love letter to Forza Horizon.
Shit, we need one of these on PlayStation.
Yeah, it basically takes Forza Horizon 3, which was in Australia, and takes the last Forza Horizon, which was in Mexico.
Yep.
And puts them together.
Fuck it, we're going to Hawaii.
We're going to Hawaii. Like, that's basically what they did. So, I mean, it's a beautiful game. Kudos to the developers like Hawaii as a location is fucking gorgeous. It's visually just diverse. You'll be driving one race over the top of a volcano. Then you'll be on the beach driving in the sand, and then you're driving through, a big city. And so there's lots of variety there, which is great. Fast travel doesn't open until you've finished 10 playlists.
Ooh.
And there's anywhere from like 8 to 10 races per playlist.
So forcing the interaction.
Yeah, so like you have to travel the map and you have to learn the ins and outs and you have to explore everything that it has to offer. 10 playlists probably is a bit steep. They probably could have done like 6, and I think that would have been enough. I feel like I've traversed the entire island multiple times, and I think I've done 8 or 9 playlists. So like I don't even have fast travel unlocked yet.
Dang.
And
damn.
Yeah. So there's some good and bad to that for sure. But the big thing, like I know Daryl, you played the Crew 2, right? Or did you play
the
first
Crew
one?
and the Crew 2? Like I played both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I played the first one. I think I tried 2. I can't remember if it was free.
Yeah, it came on PS Plus. I tried it for a couple hours too.
I actually bought that game.
I struggled
way back when it was like cheap for like $15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest issue with the Crew franchise and specifically the second one, I felt like the car handling was terrible. I felt like
couldn't handle it.
No, couldn't handle it. Everything drove the same. Everything felt super floaty. It didn't feel like your car was actually like tethered to the fucking road. And so like I had huge issues getting into that game just with the driving mechanics. So I was super happy that this game had an open beta and a closed beta.
Yep.
So that like we all tried it, sans Kyle, but we all tried the beta beforehand. Which was great. Like right off the hop, the driving mechanics are completely, they're redone top to bottom. Everything has changed. Hold on.
Yeah.
There's one caveat to that though. And this game, which a lot of Ubisoft fucking games have, is you need to spend some time in the menu before you even play. Because there's a lot of accessibility options that are turned on by default.
They're fucking annoying.
That are super annoying. There's a lot of driving assist things that are turned on, which is great for somebody if you've never played a racing game in your life. But
Kyle.
Yeah.
I think Kyle, even you would find these to be annoying. Like they're over the top.
It's like someone else grabbing the steering wheel and fucking with it while you're driving.
Braking and like
There's one where it'll automatically try and turn your car into the turn. So like if you've come at it at a weird angle, you'll feel like it pulling you to try and turn you into that corner.
Don't like that.
Yeah. So there's a few different issues like that you need to turn off.
Yeah. It's kind of like the transition if you've only ever played Mario Kart. And you're like 6 and you're like, I want to play a real racing game, right? And then you're like, we're going to help you a little. But it's just like, I feel like there should have just been a question at the start. It's like, how do you play racing games? Yes. Okay. Turn it off. Turn it all off.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that was something that I had a bit of an issue with. The first couple hours, it took me some time to like figure out the settings and the options that kind of worked for me. And then, another Ubisoft classic is their HUD needs to have everything on it. Every fucking piece of information. There's so much on there. And so, but again, thankfully, if you go into the options, you can turn the majority of it off, which is something that I also did. So it went from being like like going into the wrong website at your school computer and just having ad blockers all over the fucking place. It went from being like that to being like a Need for Speed game by the time I kind of got into the groove of it. So, I'm probably 30 hours in. Really enjoy it. There's still a ton for me to do. And then the other thing that this does differently that the Forza Horizon or Need for Speed series don't do is this game incorporates boats and
hose,
boats.
Damn it,
boats and hose, and plane races.
Yeah.
Daryl,
are those just like normal races? Like they're just very boring, or you're actually flying something?
You are flying boring planes.
Races.
Okay, so
yes.
Nice. Make sure.
Yeah. Like Daryl, I'm curious, and Trevor, you played the beta as well. Like, I'm curious of your guys' thoughts, but like for me, honestly, I could do without planes and boats.
No, leave that to Lego. Like, leave it to the Lego world, and
like
on the other side. I'm on the other side. That's kind of the crew's thing.
Like, it is.
That's their difference maker. And like everything that you said about the driving, like for me, even with the beta, I still don't like the mechanics of driving overall from the crew in comparison to Forza, in comparison to Need for Speed, in comparison to Dirt, like and lots of these other games. Like even with like some of those things toggled off, the car to me still feels wrong. Like it feels either extra heavy or too light, like, and at different points, like you hit a jump and the thing is like, boom, like it just drops.
I was gonna ask, was like, did they ever fix the Wile E. Coyote mechanic off the jumps? Because I remember that in the beta, it'd be like, go off the sweet jump, you're like, oh,
yeah. You think you're going to take off for like 500 meters.
It's not the like reverse like Forza super jump off of the airstrip where you're all of a sudden in the most aerodynamic car of all time.
You're going to take off into orbit.
Doing the Hot Wheels car thing, and you're like flying across the map.
with the rocket you're flying. No, it's not like there's like a happy medium somewhere in there, which I think a lot of these other games have better like feel of gravity than the crew. But to me, the best part of Crew 2, because to me, the car part of Crew 2 sucked shit. Like it was terrible. What like actually was the boat and the plane racing. That was the part that actually felt good. And the motor and the monster trucks, like that stuff actually felt fun. Right. Where like everything else, like just the street racing car stuff felt like wrong. It felt off. Like it wasn't up to par with everything else that I played for racing. And then the plane racing though was like in the Crew 2 was a blast.
I've heard terrible things about this one.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate that this one sucks, because like that was one of the better components in the Crew 2.
I've heard, I want to confirm with Jordan on this, because obviously you've played a bit more. I've heard they don't give you very many planes, and most of them are like World War II era pieces of shit. And the biggest one, like people have said, they're like they like limit the planes to like 200 kilometers an hour, and the guy's like, this plane in real life does like 350. But they like, I don't know if it's just because of the engine or whatever, like not the driving engine, but like the game engine, preventing it from moving too quick through the space or something like that. But I've heard it's not as good as it could be.
Yeah, so like if I had to choose between the two, like I would absolutely take boat racing over the planes. Like if they had to just keep one in to kind of dial in development and focus on things a little bit more, like I would take plane racing out completely. And
throw in jet skis instead.
Oh fuck yeah, wave race.
Like
wave race.
They already have the other mechanics. Like it would make sense, honestly.
Totally.
Didn't they have that with the Crew 2? Didn't they have jet skis or something? Or was it just the power boats?
They had the like super tiny boats, like the really like sharp turning, like kind of speedboat, like minis, and then they had the like big haulers, like they had the big guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so thankfully, like I would say from the beta to the game launch, they did tweak driving mechanics, so they do feel better, Daryl. Because I definitely did still feel a little bit iffy But again, a lot of that was the accessibility options that I didn't notice during the beta.
Yeah.
But drifting is probably the biggest thing that they kind of focused in on from the beta to the launch. Drifting feels a lot better, especially in tuners. Yeah, like in tuners and muscle cars, drifting feels really good. But I think that it's also part of the issue of just identity for the crew is I don't think that they can decide whether they want to be Forza or if they want to be Need for Speed.
Well, they're trying to be their own thing. It was like a combination of the two, but like it's not always like a.
But I think that hurts. To your point with the driving mechanics, I think that hurts a little bit because some of it feels too simulation, and the car doesn't move the way that a sim car would. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, I'm driving this like I would drive in Need for Speed, and it's not letting me do the things that I would do in a game like that. Right. And so I think they're kind of in this weird, like in between, which sometimes
forgotten middle child.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, the game's got a super impressive roster. There's over 600 vehicles in this game.
This is nuts.
Damn.
That's like Horizon, though. Oh,
yeah.
So many cars.
Like, the one thing that they do better than Horizon, the Forza series, is this game at least forces you to drive a larger selection. Forza Horizon is known for having races kind of tailored to specific like car groups or like off-road, or this is going to be like Toyota only or whatever it may be. But you can still there's a lot of liberties in there, and you can still drive a lot of the cars regardless. Whereas in the Crew Motorfest, the playlists are all kind of hand tailored towards specific things. So at launch, there's 15 playlists, and they're going to continue to add more kind of as they go. You had everything from like a Made in Japan playlist. And so within the 10 races of that playlist, each one was a different vehicle. And it doesn't matter whether you own that car or not, they'll loan you the vehicle. So if I don't have a Mitsubishi Lancer, that's okay. They're going to loan me the Evo, and I can use it for that race. And
just don't wreck it, bro.
Yeah. That's pretty much like the first intro race of the game too. The guy's like, I'll let you use my car, but don't crash it.
Yeah. And then they've even added in like a really cool one.
Only a 10-second car.
You never had me.
You never had your car.
Never had your car.
Why is he from like Brooklyn all of a sudden?
I don't know.
But yeah, this game even adds in an electric playlist. So there's all supercars that are all electric vehicles. So like they've got a BMW concept car in there, which is super cool. So there's like some really cool stuff there. They've got a vintage playlist
where you don't get the map. I saw that. You don't get
there's no mini map. Yeah, there's no mini map. They show you a Polaroid of like the next checkpoint on the race. It's like, look for this landmark, and it's like, okay. And so I'll just keep racing along. You'll see the landmark, and it's like, okay, the next one is this. And so
it's like getting directions from your aunt on how to get to their like favorite restaurant.
Okay, so the third light post.
Yeah.
Just go left at the burning car, and then
but if you go over the railroad tracks, you've gone too far.
Wow. That is a dated Dane Cook reference.
Yeah.
That is.
Yes, it is.
It's for the oldies out there.
Oh yeah. So like there's a ton of variety, which is great. And then you've got dirt bikes, you've got monster trucks, you've got it feels a little midnight club in there. Just like some of the vehicles you can drive, which is kind of cool.
I would love another midnight club. I would love.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so far I'm super impressed. It definitely doesn't nail everything. But like in comparison to the last Need for Speed that we got, I am having way more fun with this than I did with Unbound.
Wow.
So, and like, you know, Daryl can speak to this with the crew too, but like the one thing you got to give them kudos for is they support their games. Like the amount of content that the crew 2 had at launch versus 3 years later is
vastly different.
It's a different game almost.
Yeah.
Damn.
So this is a game that, you know, a year from now when it's on sale for like $30, absolutely worth a purchase. Yeah, because there will be a ton of content. There's no randomized fucking wheel spin for cars, Trevor.
Thank God.
You go from driving a C car to an S.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. The first car you get is one of the best in the game just by happenstance.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say that I don't know. So far it hasn't bothered me, but I think late game as you're trying to do like, you know, for the hardcore racers, like meta builds for certain vehicles and shit. The upgrade parts for vehicles is completely randomized.
Ooh.
So you have no control. You can't buy upgrades for cars.
You gotta
you gotta earn them, right? It's like a loot drop mechanic.
Yeah, and you're not even guaranteed really. Like if I do this race, I'm gonna get this part.
Yeah,
it's like if I do this
frustrating.
If I do this race or this playlist, I have a chance to get this, and this, but it's not a guarantee.
Isn't there also, I did see, I don't know if they changed it between the beta and the actual release because there were some concerns about like the real money mechanics to pay for cars and parts and shit. Because there was like some blank spaces. I remember in the beta, there were some blank spaces in the menu that you could not click that had like a secondary currency and things like that. We were like, oh God. Because there was concern.
Well, I mean, this game definitely goes down the live service hole that a lot of games are nowadays, where it does have weekly challenges. Yeah. You know, it does have weekly challenges and shit. And, you know, if you do these races, you can get, you know, specific cars or specific like customization options. I haven't ran into any like gotcha mechanics in terms of like
no paywalls or anything though. It's just time spent.
Not that I've ran into. And like any vehicle that I've wanted to buy or any like, they do a really good job. They sell a lot of bundles. So you can get like 3 cars that'll work for these select playlists.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, so if I have a playlist coming up and I don't have a single car for that playlist, I can go into the menu and be like, okay, I have $1 million. I can get 3 cars that are all for that playlist.
Sweet.
So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like you earn money pretty fast in this game. I've been able to buy.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the pay mechanics I haven't had any issues with. There's definitely the premium currency bullshit in there. Just like a lot of games have nowadays.
I only like freemium. That's my
you and me both. That's my kind of price. And then they've got like permanent unlocks as well, which is that's very much a Ubisoft thing. Like even their Assassin's Creed games, you could find like experience buffs. So I could get like 15% more experience during my playthrough. This game has some of that where it's like I've earned gold tokens and I can use these gold tokens to earn, 3% more currency on every race that I do. So like you can just funnel that into those kinds of upgrades, which again, I don't have to pay for them, so it doesn't bother me. But I could see it getting worse down the line as they start to incorporate more of the seasonal stuff.
As everyone does.
Getting worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think to bring it all together, then we're gonna kind of go around the horn, and we're gonna each get you to give me your rating of the game that you predominantly played.
Oof.
Crazy concept, right?
Ooh.
So let's start with Daryl. Forza Motorsport.
Yep. Good job, pal.
So confused.
I'm lost out here. It's got a car at Go Vroom Vroom.
Yes, correct. 4 wheels, go fast.
My favorite thing to tell is, you know what? I'm actually really, really good with cars. I can, like, by only taking a look at the headlights of a car, I could tell you which direction it's going.
Right.
Shout out Mish Hedberg.
Yeah, it is. I haven't played enough to kind of like give it like a true score, but from what I have kind of indulged in, it's a beautiful graphic game. The cars look fantastic. The driving feels really good. The tracks look phenomenal, and like the weathering and like the environment is really crisp. So in terms of visual appeal, it's a knockout. But in terms of like some of just the other kind of facets of the game that I think that like not having like a choice of music and just like a couple other facets, like for me, this is an 8 out of 10. Okay. Driving is, if you're a driving enthusiast, like this is a great game. Like it feels really, really good. So
awesome. So 8 out of 10 for Forza Motorsport. Trevor, how do you feel about Gran Turismo?
Kind of the same as Daryl. Like if you're really into racing games and you want to play online and stuff, like there's a lot there. If you're more of a Need for Speed or like someone who wants to play, like we'll call it a story racing game, like this game drops off the fucking edge of the earth at a late stage in the game. But same thing, looks fantastic, drives great, lots of choices of cars, but it does against a little grindy towards the end. I'd probably go with like a 7.5. Like if you're really into it, it's a fantastic, like very accurate racing game. It doesn't quite hold the interest in the same way as maybe like an arcade racer can.
Okay. All right. Jordan, take us home with the crew.
I'm kind of stealing both your scores. Like I'm sitting 7.5, 8 for me. I think the location of Hawaii and the soundtrack and the selection of vehicles is pretty high up there for me. The visual detail for some of the cars definitely doesn't hit the same like realism notes as a Forza game. They still definitely are the cream of the crop for just like the fucking realistic detail that goes into their cars. But as far as an arcade racer right now, this is probably one of the best ones out there, at least as far as a newer game is concerned. And I think with most of the Crew franchise, if this is a game that you pick up later down the road, once they've added in a lot of features, it's going to be a really good full-fleshed game. But yeah, right now, like I said, probably at 7.5, 8. I've really enjoyed my time with it, but the seasonal stuff gets tiresome for me. I'm not going to play this game 500 hours to get all the new content drops. No. Like that's just not. That's not what I think.
Racing games need to steer away from that.
They're hitting a dead end.
I just don't think it lends itself to that style of game to me. Like a live service thing with cars is just no good. Like you can have DLC that introduce like a new car and maybe like a new story, like
some new maps, races,
some new tracks, some new thing. Like I even think back to Need for Speed Heat when they brought in McLaren F1, and they did like a go to the shipyard, unlock it. You found this car, you're like, getting it back for this guy kind of thing. Like you do your little story component, and then they made a new track on the map kind of thing. Like that just makes more sense to me. It's opposed to trying to do these like finish these amount of races this week and earn this Toyota MR2. And it's like, no, thank you. It's like, no,
I'm good.
I'm good. Like,
we're done here.
The one game we didn't touch on that I think needs a special shout out here, though, that's coming out: Hot Wheels Unleashed 2.
Let's go! First one was so good. I'm actually
really excited to play this game.
Number 2.
Great driving mechanics. They've added stuff to it. I'm excited. If you want like a full true arcade race game, Hot Wheels is coming.
When's it coming out, T? Do you have a
month range?
I think a week.
I think
a couple
it's in
weeks.
November, isn't it?
A couple weeks at most.
Damn.
And if you like to build your own, tracks, like Hot Wheels is great for that. They've got a really good custom track builder.
They've included more of the stuff that was DLC in the first one now as like standard in the second one.
Like monster trucks.
So monster trucks. They've added like motorcycles. They've kind of gone like a bit of a Mario Kart way where they've got like weights and you can like side bash people, and there's like a double jump mechanic. Like they kind of leaned into it a little bit more on this one, which is pretty cool. So look forward to that.
That soundtrack had no business slapping that hard.
So good. If you want a racing game with music, Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. That's the game.
The game
for
kids.
Somehow.
It was great though.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I love my Batman car. That's all I needed.
Well, I think we've finally hit the finish line here.
Oh.
For first place.
I see what
obviously.
you did there.
Yeah. It's
You're not
good,
first,
right?
you're last.
We set the track record.
4th place.
And I'm glad you race enthusiasts, because we settled the race wars. Racing game wars.
There you go.
ELE. Everybody love everybody.
And I just want to say thanks again for tuning in to listen to us bullshit about everything nerdy.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'd say it's good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Let's go. Menage!
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for more content. We also invite you to write an email or join us on Discord to talk about anything from our episodes or something else you would like to discuss in the future. Please subscribe to the Good Enough Gaming podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. And remember, we might not be great, but we are good enough.